Welcome back. Right away, FSD moves into the right lane because it needs to turn right at the upcoming intersection and is now stuck behind a parked red car. It has its right blinker on, which was correct but is now confusing to drivers around me. The Tesla really needs to switch to its left blinker to communicate its intent to merge around the red car to complete its right. Now, those of you who can interpret the red car visualized on the Tesla screen will know that the issue is that FSD thinks the red car is not parked but just waiting to go at the green. Now it figures out the red car is parked, but frustratingly, the right blinker is still on. The Tesla should not try to merge left because it's perceived by others as having pulled over, and any sudden move left would be unexpected. As I fast forward through 90 seconds waiting unnecessarily for another light cycle, I'm going to record this as the first disengagement and mention that I'm now using TeslaFSDTracker.com's definition for intervention, non-critical disengagement, and critical disengagement. This counts as non-critical. As I manually move around the car, I'll take a moment to introduce this video. We're going to find out how consistent FSD 12.5.4 on Hardware 3 is at navigating the same route in Manhattan. I'll highlight key moments across 3 nearly identical drives. Think about it as a litmus test for your daily commute. Can FSD get a perfect 3 out of 3? We'll find out. This stretch of the avenue has no lane markings due to resurfacing. Notice as the black van in front shifts its lane position, FSD follows it accordingly. I find it interesting that FSD seems to establish its lane position based on where the car in front of it is. This does make me wonder what position it would take on unmarked roads without other cars as a reference. Leave me a comment if you have experienced this with FSD. On this stretch, there's a backup on the lane to my left. Notice how 3 cars during this sequence are able to merge in front of me. Though FSD is on assertive mode, it still maintains a roughly 2 car length follow distance. I think in this scenario, most human drivers, including myself, would follow much more closely to not allow others to constantly merge in front. I'll argue that competitive human behavior like this makes traffic worse, and if all cars behave like FSD, traffic would be much smoother and driving less stressful. Feel free to disagree. One final note as we complete drive number 1, lane selection. FSD still makes questionable and unnecessary lane changes. There are many instances where FSD's lane selection puts the car in a worse position, such as behind a stopped car or too far away from an upcoming highway off-ramp. It almost feels like a younger, more impatient and inexperienced version of myself that believed I could weave my way to my destination faster. In summary for drive number 1, FSD had one non-critical disengagement by getting itself trapped behind a parked car. On to drive number 2. I'm starting drive number 2 also on fast forward as FSD is performing flawlessly. I'll take this moment to bring up a key statistic from an October 7, 2024 CNBC robotaxi video, miles between critical disengagements. This suggests that Waymo is 100 times safer than FSD. More on that in a moment. As we enter the unmarked lane portion of the avenue again, notice how FSD is rather uncertain about its lane positioning. Unlike in drive number 1, there's no obvious lead car for it to follow. As a result, it stops at the light in what looks like an in-between position, but is actually a pretty good compromise between the real lane position and where the taxis around us are stopped. Another fun note if you look at the screen is how FSD infers the crosswalk. You can tell it's inferred because the crosswalk lines are not straight but rather oblong. It's a neat visual example of how the AI has learned to fill in the blanks. Back to FSD being 100 times worse than Waymo. I've never ridden in a Waymo and would love to, but it does feel like FSD needs to get at least 100 times better to get to unsupervised in 2025, as Elon mentioned at the October 10 We Robot event. 100 times better means completing no less than 99% of drives with 0 disengagements. In this video, FSD cannot even ace 3 out of 3 drives, which is a much, much lower bar than 99%. So there needs to be another generational leap from version 12.5.4 for a Tesla robotaxi to operate in the city. Back to the drive. Watch both the lane to my right and the speedometer. FSD suddenly slows down from 16 to 12 miles per hour defensively as a black SUV merges into the lane to my right. I really want to commend FSD for being defensive here. but I'm experiencing PTSD from the several instances of phantom braking that FSD did during highway drives this past weekend. It's terrifying when FSD brakes for no apparent reason at highway speeds. I lose a ton of trust in FSD each time this happens. As we come up to the end of Drive 2, thank you for putting up with my rants. Please subscribe if you'd like to see more, and leave me a comment if you have any suggestions. Drive number 2 was actually a perfect drive. Nice job, FSD, but if unsupervised is truly coming next year, I should be expecting perfect, not commending it. On to drive number 3, which unlike number 2 is in much heavier traffic. Let's see how it does. 3 cars in front are changing lanes, but in opposite directions, and we're about to find out why. 3 lanes are blocked off and we're driving dead center into it. Watch the screen, particularly how the path planner wiggles left and right. I can't help but chuckle as FSD slowly careens towards its doom, paralyzed by indecision, until it finally decides to go right, turns on its blinker, and detours into the bus lane. Up ahead, FSD is faced with a car that has decided to parallel park. FSD realizes this and switches on the left blinker. It's doing everything textbook perfect, except it's simply too timid. The car decides it no longer wants to wait for me to pass and starts to parallel park. Look at the screen, both the side camera and the visualization. Any taxi driver at this point would have stuck its nose into the middle lane, catch the moment that a car lets up, and shoot into the gap. FSD doesn't even take 2 consecutive gaps of at least 5 car lengths, and when it finally makes around the almost parked car, it misses the light. FSD made no traffic or safety errors there, but would have lost a star on their rating if they were an Uber driver with a passenger in a hurry. Here's a moment where FSD is a better driver than me. The moment the light turns green, it sharply merges to the left because of a car blocking the intersection up ahead. Not only did it react to the blocking car faster than I did, it also shot into an ideal opening in traffic to move around the blockage. I might be considering a 4.5 stars rating now instead of a 4. I'm fast forwarding through as FSD navigates the unmarked lane portion of the avenue without any issues. It's really quite good at merging in heavy traffic in the vast majority of cases, and not worth discussing at this point. Briefly, notice the road worker on the right walking directly into the Tesla's lane of travel and how FSD smoothly deflects around him. I continue to be impressed by how Tesla can correctly interpret body language and pass within arm's reach of a pedestrian. Now to contextualize the upcoming right turn. There's a big difference in how it feels riding in a Tesla versus a gas-powered car. In a Tesla, every micro movement of the driver's right foot is instantly felt by the passenger. Much less so in a gas car because of input delays. Thus, for better or worse, the passenger can very clearly feel how confident a Tesla driver is. A video can't show this at all, but it's a big deal as a Tesla passenger, especially one that is skeptical in FSD. Slowing down to real time as we enter this right turn, I can't show but can only describe how smoothly FSD controls its speed in tenths of a mile per hour as it waits for these pedestrians to pass, before it smoothly completes the turn. Tesla drivers watching this video will understand the minute level of right foot control needed to ensure passengers have a smooth experience. We're now waiting to turn left at this intersection behind the bus. As the bus clears, FSD inexplicably waits well behind the crosswalk. For what? I have no idea. It has a wide open path and a green to go. I take over to complete the turn to avoid missing the light. Count this as a non-critical disengagement. As Drive 3 completes, let's take a look at our overall results. FSD 12.5.4 on Hardware 3 only completed 1 out of 3 drives perfectly. The 2 misses are due to 2 non-critical disengagements, both of which a human taxi driver would have easily handled. With an expectation of more than 99%, FSD is still not close at 33%. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe if you'd like to see more. It really helps me justify producing more content. See you next time.